At the Thompson Road service ramp, be a couple people involved, possibly somebody laying in the ditch. 2 cars involved.
A tragic accident in Syracuse being felt across central New York and beyond. A 51-year-old man walking on the highway struck and killed.
So we got 1 down in the median, not really not conscious.
Behind the wheel, a pillar of the community, Coach Jim Boeheim.
Mr. Boeheim did exactly what we would expect him to do. He stopped.
The community devastated.
He always was really friendly guy with everybody who was close to him. He used to laugh.
The energy dampened leading up to the big rival game against Duke as 2 Syracuse families are heartbroken tonight.
Good evening. Welcome to this special edition of NBC3's The Orange Zone. Syracuse basketball coach Jim Boeheim says tonight he's heartbroken. Same true for friends of the victim who say it could have been anyone involved in this crash.
6 shots, loud shots. Right after I heard that, I was like, oh my God, we gotta go.
I'm absolutely sick to my stomach to see children who go to school armed with backpacks and pencils lose their lives.
Answer hate with love, answer cruelty with kindness.
Good evening. Breaking tonight, a heartbreaking reality settling into that community of Parkland, Florida, where 17 people were killed and more than a dozen were injured when a gunman opened fire at a high school.
Carmen Schentrup, Meadow Pollock, Peter Wang, Nicholas Dworet, Christopher Hickson, Aaron Feist, Luke Hoyer, Alana Petty, Jamie Gutenberg, Martin Duque Anguiano, Alyssa Al-Hadef, Helena Ramsey, Scott Beagle, Joaquin Oliver, Carol Loughran, Gina Montalto, and Alexander Schachter.
Good evening. That was the sheriff in charge of the Florida high school investigation listing the names of the people who were murdered. And breaking tonight, investigators say the suspect managed to blend in with the panicked students rushing from the crime scene.
1 homicide is too many in this city. I hit the tipping point at number 1. We cannot do this alone. We need the community to speak up.
So I ask everyone to take a deep breath and let's strategically come together and figure out what we're going to do.
Let's make sure that our focus when we leave here today is in the right place. That we can do this together, but we have to come together on this.
Good evening. What if there is no solution to the street violence killing and wounding young people in the city of Syracuse? The mayor just told me moments ago he refuses to believe that and promises everything is on the table, even possibly a curfew, as he looks at what is working right now in other communities.
Reported shooting 1313 Midland Ave between West Borden and West Beard Ave.
Interior of the house, we have 1 victim with a shot to the head. 2nd victim with a shot to the gun.
This is a very tragic event, and I told you that we had 5 victims, and one of which is an 8-year-old female, as we have established, and this is something that cannot occur in our community.
I'm angry, the chief is angry, the people around us are angry.
Day after day, our officers, those young men and women, go flying into the face of danger without batting an eye, without pressing pause.
This violence has to stop.
Kids in this house.
I looked out the window and saw flames bursting out of the kitchen window, and I saw them carry some bodies out.
I can tell you my 33-year career here, this is the worst fatal fire that I've had to deal with, in the fact that there's, number 1, kids involved, and number 2, the number of fatalities.
Those kids and that family, that was the joy of the neighborhood.
Good evening. There's heartbreak in Watertown and beyond. A father and 2 children killed in a house fire and 3 other children in the hospital right now.
Happening now, how did state police know he was drunk? Where was he before the crash?
New information on the tragedy in Onondaga.
Any comment on behalf of your client? No, I don't have any comment.
The suspect's attorney floats an argument for lower bail as family members and friends of the 3 young people who died in a fiery crash begin to work through their grief.
It's like a sad college now because 3 people died.
CBS 5 News at 11 starts now.
Good evening. Investigators say his eyes were glassy and he smelled of alcohol. But it will take a lab test to determine the level of drunkenness in the suspect accused of killing 3 people in a high-speed crash in Onondaga. The vice president greets Central New York on a political mission for an incumbent Republican who does not always see eye to eye with the Trump administration.
Crisis of illegal immigration at our southern border is a direct result of failed immigration policies.
In Auburn, steel workers get the vice president's attention with a promise of a stronger future despite political opposition.
Just say no to racist fear!
Protesters, including Democrats running for Congress, make their case out of reach of the vice president, who's already left town. And good evening at 6 o'clock. The vice president is now in Philadelphia. He was joined by his wife on a campaign swing for Congressman John Katko and echoed his boss's message, the president's message, regarding the ongoing crisis at the southern border. 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and we are not done yet. The storm that had been such a pain to forecast lives up to expectations.
All my kids' school got canceled today. Our power is out. Not much to eat at home, so I'm trying to get to the store. We just found out the store is closed.
Thousands of Central New Yorkers don't have power. Some towns have 18 inches of snow and counting.
I have never lived in a state with winters this bad at all. This is pretty crazy. I thought when we got the good weather that it was done for, and apparently not.
For all the trouble, Central New York hasn't looked prettier all winter. The snow, perfect for packing. Just ask these kids, because the Eagle has landed in DeWitt. Good evening. There are new updates just in tonight on snow totals and the progress made by National Grid in getting the lights back on for those who lost power. Breaking tonight, taken into custody at gunpoint in North Syracuse. Police nabbed the man who they say was on the run with a teen girl from Florida. Tonight, we know more about why they ended up here.
He says he spent some family time here, so I don't know what that exactly means, but he did come here during the summer, and he remembers the times that he was here.
Tonight, it's relief for a family who spent the last 5 days worried sick about their little girl.
We just want you to know that we love you, and we miss you, and we need to know that you're safe.
CBS 5 News at 11 starts now.
Good evening. Breaking tonight, people who were working and shopping at a plaza in North Syracuse say they were glued to the police activity this afternoon.
Breaking tonight, thousands coming together in Amsterdam to remember 20 lives lost in the horrific limo crash over the weekend.
Know that we try to understand the pain you're facing, and we can't nearly understand the depth of that pain.
A SUNY Oswego professor among those killed, leaving behind a wife and child.
The family is certainly asking for prayers and thoughts, not only for their son, but for the other victims of the crash.
It's the deadliest transportation accident this country has seen in nearly a decade. Why the limo should have never been on the road in the first place. And now, the renewed scrutiny of stretch limousines.
Breaking tonight, our hearts for a father convulsing over the pain of losing his son in the latest mass shooting.
Only him and I know how much I love, how much I miss. Oh, God, this is so... Oh, son, I love you so much.
New at 11, were there warning signs? New information about the suspected gunman's troubled past. Right now, a bright spot on a dark news day. A young man from Rome, smiling through something that would be enough to wreck most of us.
Whitesboro, additional manpower needed for an MVA. Oriskany at Westmoreland. Whitesboro, additional manpower needed. Oriskany at Westmoreland for a serious MVA personal injury.
A devastating crash, claiming the life of a Whitesboro police officer.
This is a PD-involved MVA.
A 7-year veteran of the department whose lifelong dream was to become an officer.
His job was his dream, and he loved to come to work every day. He was an upbeat kid.
Family, friends, and the Oneida County community is in mourning, remembering the young officer whose life ended too soon.
He'll be dearly missed by all of us in our community, and he served very well.
Good evening, I'm Victoria Carmen. Michael has the night off. A community in mourning tonight after a Whitesboro officer died in what authorities are calling a tragic accident. The chief tonight says he'll be remembered as a Whitesboro boy from day one.